Unlock the secrets of franchising success with the Franchise Life podcast. Hosted by Stacie Shannon. Join us for expert insights, success stories, and practical tips every week. Subscribe now and take your franchise journey to the next level.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Life. Today, I have an exciting emerging brand that we are going to dive into. It's a low investment, low employee, and low overhead B2B model in the logistics industry called Speedy Freight. And with me today, I have Cody Slade, who is the president of U.S. operations, and Dana Demarino, who is the director of franchise development. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, Stacie. Really appreciate it.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you for
absolutely.
having us. We're excited to be here.
Absolutely. All right, Dana. So, Speedy Freight is an emerging brand in the US, but it has a long franchise history in the UK. So, can you just dive into the backstory there and the decision to bring this brand to the US?
Yes, I'll kind of start with the history and then I'll let Cody take over on the decision to bring it to the US just because he was such a huge part of that piece of coming to the US. But the UK has been operating as a franchise for over 10 years now, 15 years. And so they're they know franchising, they know what it takes, they know how to build a franchise. The support has been there for a long time and it only just gets better year over year. They've developed out all of the support teams that they need for their franchisees, both in the UK and the United States. But as you mentioned, we are new to the United States from a franchise perspective. Cody has been operating here in the States for over 2 years now with him and his team, which, yes, they are a corporate team, but they have been operating such as a franchisee would with the model in Dallas. So they were working out the kinks for the last 2 years, establishing, credit, reputation in the industry with carriers, making sure the technology didn't have glitches and kinks as we transferred over into the United States. So he really wanted to prepare for the franchising aspect before they started franchising here in the States. So for the last 2 years, they've been doing that. And we started now franchising here in the States, I'd say about like 4 or 5 months ago now at the very most. We are excited to announce we already have 8 franchisees here in the States, and they are already off to a great start when they just completed 2 weeks of training about 3 weeks ago. But the UK, I mean, they've been franchising. They realized that it was time, and I'll let kind of Cody explain why it was time and the culture and the reason behind it. But yeah.
Fantastic. Well,
Awesome.
congratulations on the first 8. That's news to me. So exciting. All right, Cody, give us the insight on why Speedy Freight came to the US.
Yeah, so I think the why behind it is they have a model in the UK that they're very, very passionate about. They've been very successful in the UK, right? They've got 60 franchisees that they're actively shipping and doing very, very, very well. And so when they looked at their model, they thought, hey, what we're doing is working right now. Let's look at the US. Could this model work in the US? And when they said, could it work from a shipping standpoint, it makes sense, right? If you like, shipping is not a complicated thing. It's about getting something from A to B. Do we do it in the US? Yep. Do they do it in the UK? Yep. So that piece made sense. The actual product made sense. And so then it was more so, all right, let's figure out if the culture piece makes sense. And so they did a lot of really discovery and exploring if it made sense. And the unique thing about Speedy Freight is that we are all about culture. We're all about who we are. So I met the global executive team. This is in February of 2023. We met at the IFA convention. We had a conversation there and we spent a lot of time talking about really what Speedy Freight is. I was really curious of, okay, who are you? Why are you coming to the US? A lot of the questions that you just asked me. And the unique answer I got back was, this is who we are. This is how we treat our franchisees. This is how we treat our customers. We know it will work in the US. And that was unique to me because I think that's unique in franchising overall. You don't always get that. And that's what made me want to be a part of it. And I said, yeah, I can buy into that. Let's do this. Let's start this in the US. So it was really a matter of, all right, we know this model works in the UK. We love the culture of Speedy Freight and who we are and how we treat people. Let's bring that to the US and let's push that forward. And we've done that so far.
So, Cody, what is Speedy Freight? We've talked about the background, its history in the UK. So, for our listeners, what is Speedy Freight and what does that look like? What are these 8 investors that just recently have bought into the brand? What are they buying into?
Yeah, so Speedy Freight, we are a small franchise model where franchisees go out, they sit down with small to medium-sized businesses, and they consult them on their logistics needs. We are a third-party logistics company. That's how we're defined. And we simply go out and consult with companies and help them find better options for logistics. And it's really as simple as that, right? Shipping is very, very easy. We can do it in a lot of different ways, but it's really about going out and meeting the needs of your customer and offering them a better way to do things than they're currently doing it now.
And I'll kind of add to that a little bit too. As a franchisee with this model, this is B2B sales. It's less about knowing and having experience in logistics. We can teach you what you need to know on the logistics side, and the corporate team is very supportive, very hands-on. I mean, they handle all of your accounts payable and receivable for you. You're not having to worry about, because remember, what we're ultimately doing is connecting the carriers of the world, so the DHLs of the world, to our customer, which, as Cody mentioned, is a small or medium-sized business owner. And so we're being that connecting piece. We're being that middleman or a concierge service, if you will, where, as Cody mentioned, we're finding the best solutions and figuring out the best carrier to use for our customers. So we're being a consultant for them. But as a franchisee, you don't have to worry so much on the logistics side. We want your focus to be on getting new customers, so the B2B sales aspect, which is more of a consultation. It's not a hard sales pitch. It's a consultative sales approach because you're asking questions so that you can provide better solutions. But once you get the customer, then you become more of a relationship management. And at that point, that's how you're keeping your customers. And as Cody mentioned earlier, that culture piece of Speedy Freight is so important that he mentioned that, because that really is what sets us apart in this industry, where the culture and the human interaction approach to customer service is what everybody else in this industry in the United States is lacking, where we are pushing more towards. And yes, while we use our own proprietary technology, we have our own internal full-time staff of technology software developers that are working on our proprietary technology. But even with that, we will still never get away from the human interaction approach to our customer service.
So, Dana, from a customer experience standpoint, let's say I own a small business, I have continuous shipping needs. You come in as a franchise owner with Speedy Freight. What is your value proposition? I mean, you speak of this human interaction and concierge-like service, but really at the end of the day, what does that mean to me as a business owner?
Yep. And I'll say like my side, and then Cody, if you want to add anything, so that value prop for our customer, it's hard to just identify if you haven't lived a day in the shoes of a franchisee. It's hard to kind of paint the picture, but what I will paint for you is the simple fact that let's look at it. Even if you're not a business owner, have you shipped something before through UPS or through FedEx? Well, whenever you ship something, once it takes off, you get a tracking number or an 800 number that you can call. And how many times have you sat on hold just to find out from some random person that you've never talked to before that your package is delayed, but it tells you exactly what it told you in the tracking number. No more information, no, not when it'll get there, why it's delayed, where it is, anything. You don't have any real solid information. Now, imagine being a business owner who is depending on those boxes getting somewhere at a specific time. How frustrating that can be and how time consuming it can be to sit on hold for 2 hours to get nowhere or to maybe not even get a hold of anybody. So that's where Speedy Freight comes in. And these are people that you might go get coffee with. They know you by name. You might get invited to their Christmas party. It's about the relationship. And so let's say that, because of our relationship with a carrier, for example, with, and I don't want to get into logistics terms too much, but full truckload where you might have a shipment that's large enough, needs the entire truck, but the truck driver, a tire on their truck popped. They call you or communicate in whichever way you communicate with them to let you know that the tire popped. And instead of getting there tonight at 5, they're going to get there tomorrow at 9 or 2 or whatever. You as a franchisee, or if you hire an operations person to manage your accounts, you would take the proactive approach and you contact them before they even realize it. So while it's still frustrating that it's delayed, at least they know why, they know when, they know when it'll get there, how, what, all of the things because of that customer service that we provide. So Cody, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, but
Yeah, no, I think Dana, I think you hit it right on the head where it really the service that we give to customers, the value add is we let our customers, these small businesses, we let them do what's best, right? Whether it's an e-commerce company, whether it's a big corporation, they know their business best. They don't know logistics best. They're able to rely on us. We're able to take away the headache. We're able to give them better pricing. We're able to give them better solutions. And that's the service that we give to them. So overall, in a nutshell, it's basically we're able to go in, let them focus on their business while we take away the headache. And so it really is providing that solution for that business, regardless of what they do. We're able to streamline all of this so that they can make more money.
So it can be more worry-free and hassle-free from their end.
Absolutely.
So, how are franchise owners then getting leads? How do they know who to go visit and who to go after? I mean, we've categorized small, medium-sized businesses. So what does that look like? And, what does a small to medium-sized business look like? And then how are they generating leads? Is that something corporate helps with, or are they going in knocking on doors? Cody, do you want to take that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of the great things about being in logistics is that when you think about the opportunity, like who are the companies that ship? Well, it's anyone that has a physical product, right? If they have anything tangible, it's got to be moved. It doesn't matter if it's food, it doesn't matter if it's cosmetics, it doesn't matter if it's books, it doesn't matter what the product is, it's got to be shipped. And so when you look at, okay, where's my opportunity lie? It's pretty massive. You can go out and really sell to anyone. Now, as far as lead generation, in the beginning, our goal is that we really want to teach our franchisees how to generate leads versus us doing the lead generation for them. And so, but in the beginning, we do supply them with 1,200 leads. They're specific to their territory that they can go out and target. On top of that, we also provide them. We look at industries and we monitor what industries are spiking in logistics at what time, so then they can get specific in their area of, okay, during fourth quarter, there's a lot of retail movement with Christmas and things like that. Okay, let's go target e-com and go target the companies that are going to be really doing a lot of volume during that time. So we try and steer them in which ways and what industries that they should play in at what times throughout the year. But overall, our goal is that the nice thing is that you really can go out and speak to anyone. And the goal is that we teach them how to do that, how to pull a lead list, how to use Google, how to use the resources that that are out there so that they can generate the type of leads that they want to generate. Then also we teach them how to get referrals, because one of the biggest things that they're going to do is they're going to go out and provide this amazing service to someone. And that, for example, it may be a cosmetic company, right? Someone that makes lipstick. Well, that company also has other people that ship things, right? There's a company that's going to provide them with the containers the lipstick goes into. There's a company that provides them with the cosmetic material that goes into that lipstick. There's always one more person in that supply chain that can be used as a reference. And so that's what makes this industry so much fun, is that you can go in and you can find your niche, right? And then you can really go through that and just get referrals and build your business based on the referrals and based on what you do well.
And how does that work from a territory standpoint then? So let's say, and Dana, this might be a question for you. Number one, what defines a territory, right? And then Cody, based upon what you just shared about the referrals and so forth. So I identify a customer in my territory, but then there's a referral. Does that referral come to me since that's where it originated? Or if it falls in someone else's territory, does it go to another franchise owner?
Yeah, I'll kind of take it. So, a territory initially, the way that we map it out is by zip code to get a minimum of 9,000 businesses. Now, we are looking at those businesses and also determining the size of them. So, how many employees do they have? What kind of revenue do they bring in annually? So, we know that it's a valuable territory. But I will say that, most territories, I mean, unless you're in like South Dakota, if there are businesses, you'll be fine. But what that really means, because the nature of this kind of business or the industry, obviously we are traveling all over the place. There are business owners own multiple locations that may or may not be in your territory. You might have relationships with people prior to becoming a franchisee and want to leverage those relationships. So the rule that applies to everybody is within those zip code lines, that is where you do your prospecting. So your sales prospecting, your cold calling, your door knocking, your outreach, those points of contact. But let's say that you are coming from an industry a sales industry where you have a lot of accounts from a previous job that are companies that ship things. Go and leverage those. Even if they're not in your territory, you still will own that account because you own the relationship. They are working with Speedy Freight because of you. So you will maintain that account. And let's say you're sitting at a pool bar on vacation, you meet somebody that owns a business. Same thing. Now, of course, that same rule applies to everybody. So
Right.
that's how we kind of manage that.
Okay, perfect. So I do have a question because I was a bit confused on this at a first blush. In all your advertising, you show Speedy Freight trucks. Okay. But then when I dove into this I mean, it says no trucks, right? You don't have, and which keeps the investment level down, which is great. You're relying on third parties. So can you just unravel where the speedy trucks come into play? Because they are pretty prevalent. I have your website pulled up right now, and they're everywhere. Cody,
So
do you
in
want
the
to
U
take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the UK, they do have some third-party carriers or 1099 carriers that do brand their trucks as Speedy Freight trucks. As we evaluate things in the US, that's not something that's really not something that I think that we'll ever want to do. We want to rely on carriers that we know, carriers that are established. And a lot of our carriers are national carriers that have large networks. And so because of that, we've decided that we do not ever want to be asset-based in the US. And we'll still have lots and lots of opportunity. In the UK, in some of the smaller areas, that's where they see those branded vehicles, but it's not something that we'll ever have here in the US.
All right. Well,
And to
thank
kind
you.
of go off of that really quickly, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Stacie, but remember, Cody was a franchisee for 17 years for another third-party logistics company. And so what he did whenever the UK guys came to him and said, hey, we want to develop this in the United States, what Cody did was basically took his experience as a franchisee and seeing what worked and what didn't work here in the States and blending it with that culture side of Speedy Freight. So what works in the UK could work in the US, I'm sure, but it's just not the most ideal model. And Cody, of course, is able to recognize that because of his experience on the other side of this.
No, thank you for that. I just had to ask the question
Yeah,
because I see them everywhere
yeah.
in marketing materials and on the website. All right. More importantly, let's talk about the support that Speedy Freight provides its franchise owners, and then that also then is going to tie directly to, I think, the royalty discussion here, because as you know, I have access to hundreds of brands. So I typically tell my clients, the sweet spot with royalties, you typically see between 7 and 9% is what we do see, but then your royalty is 30%. But once you dive into it and understand, there's a good reason for that. So let's start though with the level of support that Speedy Freight provides, because you do a lot of additional back end support that most traditional franchises do not.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and jump on this. So the unique thing about Speedy Freight is while we are new to the US, we are not new to franchising. And our goal is that we really want our franchisees to focus on what's most important, and that's building your business, right? I don't want a franchisee to ever get drug into, hey, I need to create this unique marketing thing, or I need to, do all my, I need to do collections or things of that nature. We want them to be very tied into, revenue generating activities, which is sales. And so because of that, we have an amazing support team. So we've got a marketing team. We've got 7 people that sit in that marketing team, and their whole goal is just to push the brand forward and support franchisees. We have a finance team of 26 individuals that are just there to, we pay all the carriers, we do all the accounts receivable, all the accounts payable, all the collections. We do that for franchisees. We also have, we own all of our IT platforms. And so we have an amazing IT team. I believe we're at 29 employees that just do development and make our systems better, right? As we bring in franchisees, we learn from franchisees, which allows us to develop and keep things, progressing and stay ahead of the market from an IT standpoint. So we've got amazing support out of the UK, and then we have an amazing coaching team. We've got 2 business coaches that talk to our franchisees every day here in the US. We have salespeople here in the US that you can bounce things off of and learn from and grow from. So we do have a fairly robust support team. And once again, the reason why we do that is because our whole goal is we just want franchisees to focus on revenue generating activities. And then I'll let Dana jump into the royalty piece.
The royalty. Yeah. So, and one thing about the franchise business coach too, which is awesome, is I kind of like to describe their coach as somebody who is kind of just like another partner of theirs, where their sole purpose is there to help you as a franchisee develop and grow your business. We help with business planning. So you tell us your goals, and one of the first things that we do with you is if you tell us that you want to get to X amount of revenue by X year, we will back into that and show you, okay, well, then that means that you need to get this many accounts every month. That means that you need to knock on this many doors every day, or whatever the case may be. So we are setting an actual plan in place for them. It's just up to the franchisees to plug and play at that point. So follow the process, which we always hear in franchising.
Right.
But so the royalty, so now, yes, we offer a ton of support, and the royalty, we definitely make it worth it. However, whenever you actually break down how the royalty works, it's different than other franchises. So while if you're looking at a franchise that has a 7 to 9% royalty percentage, they're taking their royalty off of the top line total revenue. Okay. We are not taking ours off of that top line total revenue. We are taking ours off of what we call the gross margin, which is the top line total revenue. So the amount that your customer is paying to ship their product, the amount that you charge your customer. And we're subtracting out the carrier cost. So the amount that we are paying to the carrier, so the DHLs of the world, to ship the product. So that difference between the two is the gross margin. And that is what we take our 30% royalty from. So ultimately, we're taking a larger percentage, but off of a much smaller dollar amount. Whereas with a 7 to 9% royalty, you're taking it off of a larger dollar amount. So whenever you actually break down the numbers and look at the bottom line dollar for dollar, it tends to be pretty comparable. Now, with that being said, the reason why we do it that way, it's not because we're trying to be difficult or different or, change the franchise game. But what we're doing, the reason why is because you have a fixed carrier cost as a franchisee. So before you go and price your customer, you know exactly what that carrier is going to charge you. So let's use $70 as an example of a carrier cost. So DHL is charging Speedy Freight franchisee $70. The Speedy Freight franchisee decides to turn around, and I'm just going to use a $5 margin here as an example, very small margin, but maybe it's somebody that's planning on doing a ton of volume. So you end up turning around and charging them $75. If I take 8% from 75, that's a $6 royalty payment. When I subtract the $6 from 75, that gives me $69. Well, I have to pay DHL 70, so I just lost $1 on that shipment.
Right.
Because I wasn't paying attention to what my royalty was after carrier cost and all of that. So by taking it off of a 30% off of that $5 margin, you're never putting yourself in a position when you go to price your customer to lose money on a shipment. So that's why we do it that way. It gives you full control over what you want to charge your customer at all times.
I
Number one,
actually
sorry,
love
go ahead.
that. I actually love that. And thank you for providing that real life example. That really puts it into perspective. And again, it's a matter of talking to potential prospects, right? Here is the rationale. This is why we do it this way. And once you explain that, it makes absolute sense. And it actually is a benefit to the franchise owner. I'm sorry, Cody, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the number one thing that we want to do is we want to make sure all of our franchisees succeed, right? We want to put them in a position where they can succeed. We want them to be able to bring on whatever business that they decide to bring on, whether they bring it on at 100% margin or a 5% margin, as Dana explained. And so because of that, because we always want them to be in a position to win, and we always want them to be able to win the business that they want to win, that's why our margin is off of gross margin. It gives, as Dana said, it gives the franchisee control. No matter what scenario they're in, it gives them control to where they can be profitable.
Absolutely. All right. Since we're talking financials, Dana, can we dive into the item 19? What are you able to share with us as the potential return on an investment?
Gosh, I wish I could share everything. So right now, and of course, we will be refiling our FDD early next year so we can update for all of the 2025 numbers. But as of today, the item 19 is reflecting 2024. Well, I should say 2022 through 2024 numbers. We are showing you 53 territories in the UK of performance. That includes all top, middle, and bottom performers. And then we also do show you our first full year in business at the Dallas corporate location, which, as I mentioned earlier, is operating as a franchisee technically would. We show their 2024 calendar year of revenue, which in their first full year, they did 1.6 million.
Wow.
In total revenue. And the average top performer for one territory for total revenue is at 2.1 million. Not too bad whenever your startup costs are 150,000.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, We're able to, I mean, this is a numbers game. This is a volume game. The revenue, especially here in the States, we go much further distance than they do in the UK. And so obviously distance determines revenue, how much you're going to charge your customer. So it's a volume game. And now, of course, from that total revenue, you have, your carrier cost, your royalties, your operating expenses. But the wonderful thing about this model, and as Cody mentioned earlier, is that we will always stay asset light. So your biggest operating expense after, you subtract carrier costs and royalty is payroll. That's it. I mean, very minimal other than that. Because realistically, marketing, don't need a big marketing package for this business. The marketing will more or less come from your sales and referrals. So it's a you can really scale this business, which people do. They get into this industry not because they grew up telling their mom and dad that they want to get into logistics and shipping and supply chain, but because they want to scale a business that has real legs and that is not going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, if businesses stop shipping things, I think we have bigger problems to worry about.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so there's always room for us. And so with that, you're in a business that holds very strong resale value. They don't stay on the market. I mean, Cody can speak to this better than anybody. It's exactly what he did as a franchisee. So it's my little spiel.
Okay, so let me ask you, these initial 8 investors, and again, congratulations, those are the hardest ones to get. How many territories? What's the average territory investment? 1, 2, 3, what's that look like?
We see 2 to 3 territories because of the type of model this is. It's economies of scale. Realistically, if you're buying 3 territories, you're treating them as one really large territory. You can plop an office space in the middle, take advantage of economies of scale. So it's not like a brick and mortar business where
Right.
you're having to build out a space for every territory you buy. So we see 2 to 3 territories. Right now we have 14 territories total. And which is obviously very exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, from a startup cost and from an ongoing perspective, it makes sense. Now, of course, I mean, everybody is entitled to do what makes most sense for them and works for them. But it just from a financial and growth, if you really are wanting to scale a business, it makes sense.
Sure. All right, Cody, on a last note,
Yeah.
what does your ideal candidate look like? What type of experience is a prospect bringing that can be successful in this business?
It's a great question. And I've been asked that many times, and I think that the biggest thing that we're looking for is individuals that have grit and have drive. This business, once again, it's not overly complicated. It's not something that, shipping it is fairly easy. So I just need individuals that are willing to go through the grind of the standard sales grind and embrace that and love it. And they have the grit to grind, and they want to make money. They want to be motivated and be successful. That's really what we're looking for. What I found is that, when it comes down to success in the franchising world, sometimes background just doesn't matter. I've seen individuals come to the table that have the perfect background. They have got all the logistics experience, and that doesn't necessarily lead to success. Sometimes it's just the individuals that want to have something to prove, want to grind, and are very driven. That's really what we're looking for from a candidate.
No, thank you for that. And I couldn't agree with you more, Cody. I very rarely, less than 5%, do I work with a client that invests in a business that they have direct applicable experience in. And that really is the beauty of the franchise model, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
with this investment, you're going to train them, you're going to give them all the tools that they need to be successful. And yeah, they're going to learn about the shipping industry as a result, but it's really communication skills, sales skills, people skills that really, in this kind of business, I would imagine would make them
Absolutely.
successful.
Absolutely. One of our newest franchisees who's having quite a bit of success, came from the Chick-fil-A world.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
Interesting.
not even close to anything around shipping, but he's having a lot of success with it.
Yeah.
I love that. That is so interesting. Yeah, two diametrically opposed industries, right? You can't
Absolutely.
get much different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also too, kind of taking that like a step further from an employee standpoint, we don't need to hire skill specific employees that come with some kind of licensing or a skill set that we have to really, really like spend time training them on, you know? This is something, your first hire is going to be a salesperson. And whether that is a salesperson that has experience or doesn't have experience, it's completely up to you. You can either train them or maybe pay them a little bit higher in base if they already have experience, so it's not something where if you lose an employee, you're dependent on them to still be able to run your business.
Right. All right. Well, Dana and Cody, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited about this business model, super excited to hear about the success you guys are having so far in growing in the United States. And yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on it, and hopefully I'll be bringing some prospects your way soon.
Awesome. Stacie, thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you,
Absolutely.
Stacie.
You bet. All right. For anybody interested in learning more about Speedy Freight, please feel free to reach out to me at Stacie@fusionfranchising.com. Thanks and have a great day.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe for more on the franchise life.